All right, we are here with Ari Lehman, the first Jason.
That's right. This is Ari Lehman, the first Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th. We're here at the Rapture in Mesa, Arizona. You're watching Gorram Nerd Hour. Yeah.
All right. Now, let me ask you a little bit about your experience working on the first Friday the 13th movie.
Well, I like to say,
I guess that works. I know.
No.
Well, you were telling me a little bit about Tom Savini and all of that kind of stuff yesterday.
No, I am very fortunate to be the first Jason Voorhees, the one who jumped out of the lake at the end of the first movie. Of course, in that film, it's my mom, who is the protagonist. She's the killer. It's all her fault. But when this Alice cuts her head off, I decide to take revenge, as you can see right here, as I think any good son would do. And, well, for me, as a young kid, I wanted to be in movies, so I snuck into an audition that Sean Cunningham was doing for a film that was a comedy. And it was a comedy about soccer. It was like Bad News Bears of soccer. And it didn't go over very well. So he made a decision. He had seen Halloween, and he said, you know what? I came up with this idea, Friday the 13th. When Victor Miller wrote the script about a summer camp, they gave me a call. They said, hey, can you swim? I said, yeah, I can swim. They said, come down to the office. You've got a part. And that was it. So a lot of it had to do with luck and swimming.
Okay.
But
well,
of course, the one thing I often wonder is, why isn't Alice wearing a life preserver? You get into a canoe, and yet you're not wearing a life preserver. At any moment, a malformed, zombie-ish child could come up out of the water. What would you do, Meanwhile, she just cut off my mom's head, and yet she's just going for a little boat ride. I mean, decapitation, then boating. Is that sort of a schedule? I don't know. Maybe.
Well, back in that time, they didn't know the rules of horror movies as much. So, the teenagers that were in these films weren't as savvy as they are today.
Yes, right. Nowadays, you could hardly see someone in a boat without a life preserver on. Probably not. That would be like taboo. We can't show that. And what if they're smoking a cigarette at the same time? No way.
Well, the other thing I wanted to talk to you about, obviously, is your band, First Jason.
Thank you.
I did have a chance last night to be over at Monsterland. I heard a couple of songs before I had to leave. I really did enjoy it quite a bit. And if you want to tell me basically how it kind of came about, how you decided to form a band and kind of go from there.
Well, I've always been a musician. Even when I was in Friday the 13th, I was already a musician. And being in movies kind of is not as exciting as music for me. I love that live reaction, instantaneous. So I pursued music. I actually was working in the world music circuit in the 90s and early 2000s. Then somebody sent me an email with a photo of myself and said, did you autograph this photo? I said, no. They said they had been charged $50 on eBay. So I said, you know what? I'm going to check out these horror conventions. And I met a lot of people who were into metal and punk on those conventions. So I said, you know what? I need to come up with a different thing. I play all sorts of music, but you got to hit them where they live. So I went back to some of my roots. Like I used to go and listen to, Bad Brains and Reagan Youth. I was good buddies with Reagan Youth back in the day. Of course, I was playing jazz piano back in the day, but I would go and watch these guys. So I drew upon that, and I just got to thank the fans for being patient with me. I finally enlisted the help of a drummer from a band called Cro-Mags and a bass player from a band called Macabre. And they gave me a lot of guidance and help. And so we did our first record, Jason Is Watching, which we released in 2009, the same day they released the 2009 Friday the 13th. And that's done enormously well. We've sold tens of thousands of copies. We got signed to a Sony subdivision called THC Music. Just last Tuesday, we played at the Whiskey A Go-Go in Los Angeles.
That's huge right there.
Yeah, it's a great honor. But it was, in all honesty, my favorite thing to do is what we did just last night, where you've just got a crazy, drunken bunch of horror fans who are just looking up and saying, is he really playing a machete at this point? And you can see over here, there is a picture of me. I don't know if you could get that. This is from a Russian metal magazine. But here I'm playing the guitar that's on a machete. Yes, indeed. So that's a lot of fun. And I just really, really enjoy that simple pleasure of going to a nice club where there's a bunch of people, everybody just has a good time. And I think nowadays, people are tending to want to get away from their computer. You know, they want to get out there. You know, it's $8-10. You see a bunch of bands, you get your drink on. You know, it's a lot of fun.
Okay, and as far as the first album, you said it was called Jason is Watching?
Jason is Watching. Jason is Watching. It's available on Spotify, iTunes. You could just go to firstjason.com and order it right from us, or come to a horror convention. We sold out of them right now, but I mean, I have the CDs without labels because, heck, we've been on the road for about 3 weeks now, so it's time to get some more printed up. We got vinyl coming out too from THC Music. And then we just recorded 5 new songs in Chicago, not but 2 weeks ago. And we're going to add a 6th song to that and make it a 6-pack. And that 6th song is going to be a Secret Origins of Jason Voorhees song. So it will have music and words. It will be a voiceover describing, telling the tale, if you will, of the true origins of Jason Voorhees, which nobody knows except for me. Because how did Jason go from being this little vulnerable child to this huge, invulnerable monster in 11 months? Yeah. Part 2, 11 months later. Well, I know, and it's the curse of Camp Crystal Lake. It's the curse of Crystal Lake, and I'm the only one who knows that. So if you want to know the true story, get our new record, which is going to be coming out in 2013, of course.
Okay, and then one last thing before we wrap up. Do you have any websites you want to plug?
Oh, of course. That would be firstjason.com. And if you're on Facebook, head over to First Jason Official and come check us out. We're going to be playing all over the country. Halloween will be at Lucky 13's in New York City, in Brooklyn, New York. And we'll be going to Germany in March, and we're just all over the map. So come see a First Jason show. And remember, what's the name of the show again? Gorram Nerd Hour. That's a cool name. You're watching Gorram Nerd Hour. And remember, Jason never dies.